come to WT to be athletes. And when I walked in to the activity center, I was probably the most clueless freshman that had ever entered. Saw Mrs. Hill and I told her I didn't know what I was doing, and she signed me up for the track team. Told me I was going to be the shot putter, and I didn't even know what the shot put was. So I really didn't come for athletics, but it became the central part of my collegiate life.
Played basketball in high school, didn't really think about playing it in college. Was playing on an intramural team, and actually one of the girls associated with the basketball team, Becky Pinson, was playing on the intramural team and kind of roped me into it. And of course, once I got there, undoubtedly the best experience I had in college.
I talked to Aline Stovall when they brought the basketball team down to play at Howard College, which was my hometown in Big Spring. And she encouraged me to come and talk to Mary Hill and play softball. I went to WT for the sole purpose of getting prerequisites to go to pharmacy school, but really, honestly, that's what I told my folks. They had a softball team and I wanted to play softball. I wanted to do athletic training and segue that into physical therapy. And so she said, well, why don't you come and be the manager of the basketball team and help tape ankles for any of the women's sports. And so they sent me to a 6-week program to learn everything you needed to know to fix any problem that might occur during sports with women.
So I came to WT in 1972 and spent my 4 years enjoying everything the college had to offer. As far as athletics go, we went to see the college and they sent us over to see the health and physical education department, and Dr. D said, well, there's someone you might want to talk to. And it was Dr. Hill. Well, Dr. Hill showed me and my mother the college, and I knew right away, boy, this is a great fit. It's the right size. The people are great. But I told her, I said, I don't know anything about participating in athletics. I just love to play, and I wonder if there's any opportunities here. And she said, absolutely. There's one more person you need to meet. And she took us to meet Aline Stovall. By the time I was done with Dr. Hill and Aline Stovall, I knew WT was the right place for me. I got to play basketball. I thought volleyball would be a lot of fun, so I got to play volleyball, got to run track. That was a blast.
I transferred to WT because actually my husband, who is a brilliant man, he said, you know what, they're going to start letting loose some scholarship money for athletics. Maybe you can earn one. And so I went the first year, and Dr. Blair, Suzanne Blair, was our volleyball coach, and it was $300 for the whole year. And basically that paid my babysitters.
I came the fall of '74. I had played volleyball in high school. Did not think I would continue playing in college, but I saw some flyers around saying, if you'd like to come try out for the volleyball team, show up at the box. So I just came and tried out, and I was elated I was going to get to play.
We didn't have any following on campus at all.
I don't think Canyon knew we existed.
I don't think they knew we existed.
And she said, who was in the stands? And I said, well, the dorm people.
The people that ran the dorms did amazing things to put people in the stands. Kay Hager was in charge of the dorms, and she would put the word out. There's a game, go. Mm-hmm. That's how we got people in the stands, because the university wasn't doing anything to publicize the fact that there was something other than men's athletics.
Folks like Aline Stovall, truly, she was a mentor and a role model to me, but more about life than sports. I don't think she would have ever been a famous coach, but what she did made a difference even greater than that. She hired me and paid me from her personal account to be a student employee.
She was the beginning of women's sports in the 60s for WT. I think she came to WT something like 63, and then started the basketball program, and then started the volleyball program, and then would just recruit other professors to help her start the other programs.
Yeah, she was an awesome basketball coach that cared about every single one of her players. And I remember when I came to WT and I was signing up for a basketball class. And she said, but you came from Nazareth and you've played basketball, you know how to play. And I said, yes. She said, well, don't take the class, come join the team. She was a wonderful woman.
I don't know what we were expecting, but we realized real quickly that it wasn't really like high school. Because in high school, we had things. And when we got here, whole different story. There was zero money. The 2 years that Cynthia and I played, for sure, there was zero money. I know one day they came and said, you will meet at the blood center and you will give blood. And I heard somebody else say plasma. I barely made it through the blood.
Well, I was part of the group that gave plasma. If you went on Tuesday and you gave plasma, you got $5. If you went back on Thursday, you could get $10. So you could make $15 for the week, and that bought a lot of stuff back in 1970.
They set us up with like cleaning the bowling alley, but we'd have to wait till after midnight to get in to clean the bowling alley because people bowl all the way up till midnight.
I remember the first medals that I won at any track meet was at Eastern New Mexico University, and they were wooden homemade medals, wood burned, first place, second place, and so forth. So they didn't have any money either, I guess.
And we shared uniforms with the basketball team. We only had one set of uniforms. We paid for our own shoes, our own socks, our own warm-ups.
We had uniforms, I don't know, they might have been the same ones y'all played in, but we had one set and it went from volleyball to basketball to track.
We didn't have practice clothes.
We were passing on uniforms and stuff even in the late 70s.
It was hard to compete, you know, and they're all changing their uniforms between games, and we still have our same stinky ones.
If you've only got one set of uniforms and you go and you manage to win and you're going to get to play again and you're out of town and it costs money to go to the laundromat, Becky Pinson could wash an entire team's uniforms in a bathtub at a Motel 6. You know, it was always 4 in a room. Y'all get the mattress, we get the box springs.
Motel 6, we were close. We weren't going to stay in someplace really nice.
And do y'all remember Motel 6? You had to buy a key to turn the TV on. You had a lamp, a towel, and a washcloth. And Mary Hill had 4 to a room.
We had to take either coaches' cars, which they got no money whatsoever for any of it, or we went in our own personal cars.
That's why I made the basketball team, really, is because I had a car, not because I was good at basketball.
There were no vehicles. We never flew anywhere. We never took the bus anywhere. And everywhere we went, each one of those women that coached those teams drove every single mile. We used gas that was provided by a coach that was never reimbursed by the university. I would love to do the math, and I don't even know if it's possible to figure out how many miles were driven by the women who coached the teams.
To Alleen's credit, she was single, and her folks helped buy her a station wagon with wood panel, if you remember that. The Bouge Mobile, I believe we called it.
We ran the bar ditches and collected beer cans,
and we could spot an aluminum beer can a mile away.
Beer was in aluminum cans before soft drinks. They were all beer cans, is my memory. It was interesting because Canyon was dry. You'd have to go to Amarillo or the roadsides to find the beer cans.
Drove out to towns that we knew, drank a little bit more than other towns, picked up beer cans and took them back to Miss Stovall's house. And she first gave us an anvil. And if you know how heavy anvils are, they're awful. And we'd pick up anvils or your feet and stomp them. And I finally had the suggestion that Miss Stovall wasn't at the house at that time. Go get her keys, get a car out. Let's just run over them. So we did that, and I didn't ever tell her we did that because
she knew, because she accused me of, how many miles did you put on my car?
I didn't know that.
I just had to tell her, Miss Stovall, your car never left the driveway.
But there was this bar that someone knew about. And whenever we would go to play in Abilene, we would always detour on the way home to this bar. where we would go in the arroyo behind the bar and throw the aluminum beer cans out until we would fill those bags. And I think those bags had to be at least 6 feet tall. And there was one trip in particular when we had 2 of them filled, and the only place to put them was on top of Alleen's station wagon. Well, come next Monday for classes, Alleen still has the beer can strapped to the top of the station wagon. And she made it a point to drive the station wagon and park it in a predominant location at the university. And she did that on Monday, and she did that on Tuesday. And on Wednesday, she found herself in the president's office where he said, you know, Alleen, those beer cans have to come off the top of that station wagon. And she was ever the negotiator and said, I believe if you can find us a little bit of money for gas, we can find a way to take those beer cans off the station wagon. We were exceptionally fortunate that we had women coaches that never quit on us. So we sure weren't going to quit on them.
Just all the sacrifices they had to make just so we had an opportunity. I mean, everything was out of their pockets primarily. I think all those hardships, though, were what brought all of us together as family.
Those coaches, they had to do everything. They had to drive the van, they had to wash the clothes.
It was such a fight just to get any funding. And when the coaches got paid, I want to say they got paid $2,000.
I can't even imagine what the stipend was that Dr. Blair and Elaine Lewis and Alma Ramsey got for coaching volleyball for 3 months. You know, I'm thinking it might have been about $400, and not very much at all. And they paid a lot of stuff on their own.
In my opinion, those are the true heroes. And if you look at what it's grown into, all of those 8 national championships that the university enjoys came from the foundation that was built by the women who coached for nothing. And so for the history of Title IX to begin with women who were willing to stand up and say, this isn't right, and be willing to confront that, we've all benefited from it.
I don't think we knew the term Title IX. Cynthia and myself and another friend, Linda Gear, we were called in by Miss Stovall and Suzanne Blair, and I believe Miss Hill was there. But it wasn't a question of, do you want to do this? It was, this is what you're gonna do, and it's your idea. You can't tell them that it was us, because they will fire us.
It took a long time, because we'd go into somebody's office and tell them that we thought WT ought to go by Title IX and we needed equal opportunity. And, well, I'm not the person you need to talk to. You need to go talk to so-and-so. So by the time we had walked out of the office, they were already calling the next guy saying, hey, these girls are gonna come talk to you. So a day later, when we started trying to get in to see somebody, well, you know, they were busy for 3 or 4 weeks. And when we finally got to the vice president and he listened to us, he did call us back in a few weeks later. And he said he had talked to the athletic director and the financial director and the men's coaches. And I remember him saying, we decided y'all are right. Because I went, what? Because we weren't expecting that. And he said, you do need equal opportunity. So next year, when school starts, if you want to be on the football team, you have equal opportunity to go try out. And then if you want to be on the basketball team, you have equal opportunity if you want to go try out. That's what they were calling equal opportunity.
Our coaches had their jobs threatened if they didn't cease and desist. And they got no relief time. They covered for each other if they had to miss a class. So they needed us younger women that came along to participate, to continue their fight. They came and asked us to testify. I mean, it was very intimidating, although we only testified to Mary Lou Robinson, and she asked direct questions about what our experiences were. Apparently, after that, it was thrown out. because there's no record of it that we can find anywhere. It was 1979. They came and said that they were pursuing it further and they had to have people that were still involved in the programs. And I think that's when Arlene and others were asked to be involved and take it the next step.
About 2 years ago, this young lady next to me said, "You do know I went and spoke before Congress," and I went, "What?"
I had already started my job and they called and they said, "We need somebody from currently that's playing and somebody that's from the past." So I was the person from the past. Actually, my boss wasn't going to let me off, and they asked me who my boss was, and the next thing I know, they made some calls and I was off and headed to Washington, D.C. We walked through that door and I about had a heart attack. It was packed. I mean, there was a ton of people. There were reporters, there was cameras. It was a Senate committee hearing is what it was. They just said, if you want things to get better, this is what you got to do.
I just want to personally thank the women that were literally feet on the ground doing this before 1972 and continued after 1972 to show us the way. These girls at the time were literally sacrificing their body to just be able to do something that they loved.
And they had to raise their own funds for a coach and for travel and for uniforms. And so to read about that happening at West Texas State, you know, they were pioneers.
Driving their own cars to any kind of tournaments, they're paying for their own food and gas money. Parents were helping out. It's basically the opposite of everything that we get today. Just the advocacy from people like Aline Stovall. They were going to play and it didn't matter if the coaches were being paid or not. And I think as an athlete now, I didn't realize just the extent of what it took to get to where we are today. I get the Aline Stovall Scholarship. She's still changing lives at WT.
It just shows the value of using our voices and standing up for equal opportunity. It's a good thing that we're just hard-headed women that won't take no for an answer, and we're gonna keep going and we're gonna keep pushing. And I think that that culture and that tradition is strong, especially here in the Texas Panhandle.
You just have to look at the success of our women's sports. Our women's teams are championship caliber across the board. Over the last several years, I've said to some of our female athletes, WT, where men are men and women are champions.
When we were doing this, I had no clue. I didn't have any vision like Miss Stovall had that we would be sitting here now. And the women's sports at WT represent like, what, 8 national championships? I just thought we were trying to get even then. It floors me to think what all the women's athletics has done here at WT.
I think that WT and women's athletics has come a long way. I think what we've all done has definitely impacted how it is today.
I wouldn't trade it for the world.
No, I wouldn't either.
I wouldn't take for my time spent at WT and the things that I learned and my friendships that I still have to this day. And I'm so thankful for those ladies. We just wanted to play. We were like all the other ladies. We just wanted to play and we loved playing.
We competed for the love of the opportunity and the love of the game and the opportunity to learn and grow in sports like men had. Just to have that opportunity was worth it all.